Please be seated. You finally get to sit down. How's everybody doing? How is everybody doing? Oh yeah, I love that energy. Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Anthony Bailey, the Dean of the USC Bovard College, and I'm pleased to welcome you, family, friends, faculty, staff, and the class of 2025 to the Bovard College commencement ceremony. Before I introduce our speaker, there are many folks I'd like to thank and recognize on this very special day. And I'd like to start, graduates, with your family and friends, as I see so many of them here, and I know how important they've been throughout your journey. So please, let's give them a round of applause. Next, I would like to recognize our flag and banner bearers, John Francisco and Devin Favela, who were selected by the faculty to lead the graduates in the professional. Thank you, Jonathan and John and Devin. I would also like to recognize Mike Chen, who Mike represented, he was our flag bearer at the main commencement ceremony last night, and that was a lot of flag bearing. Thank you, Mike. At the USC Student Awards ceremony this week, I was delighted to see that we had a number of Bovard College winners. We had 6 graduates win the Order of Arete. And let me tell you about the Order of Arete. The Order of Arete is awarded to graduate students at USC and acknowledges their academic excellence, outstanding leadership, and significant contributions to the university and community. The Bovard College winners are, and feel free to stand if you'd like as I call your name, Brianna Figueroa, Devin Favela, Ivan Ferdin, John Francisco, Madison Taylor Salazar, and Tali Clavijo. Congratulations to all of you. I'm also delighted that we have Bovard College's second ever winner of the Order of the Laurel and the Palm, which is the highest honor given to students completing their degrees at USC and is awarded to students who display exceptional leadership and service that makes a lasting impact on the community. And the winner is Mike Chen. You know, I'd like to say just a few things about Mike, because, you know, Mike and I have worked together within USC and outside of USC for the last 20 years, a little over 20 years. And I've known him as a great colleague, a great worker, and he's clearly a good student. But, and all of the faculty here, and many of you know Mike really well, because he's USC Bovard College's Director of Academic Operations. But I didn't know the extent of his amazing work in the community, fostering children, volunteering in prisons, and helping build homes for the need. So we're very proud of you, Mike. Congratulations. So well deserved. I'd like to thank our faculty, those of you with us here today, and all of our faculty throughout the country. Your real-world experience and dedication to our students' success is unmatched. Our faculty council members are here, including our great council chair, Mari Kong, who represents our faculty in USC's Academic Senate. And I am delighted to recognize those faculty who won Bovard College Teaching and Mentoring Awards this year. And if you wouldn't mind standing as I call your name. Our winner for excellence in faculty mentoring is Professor Mike Mathis. Our winner for excellence in student mentoring is Professor Megan McPherson. For excellence in service and leadership, Professor Wanda Cumberlander, who couldn't be with us today, but she's watching. And hi, Wanda, congratulations. And for excellence in teaching, Professor Leonard Jackson. Finally, I'd like to thank all of our Bovard College staff. Running excellent online degree programs takes a whole lot of management and coordination, including pulling together, of course, commencement today. So I'd like to thank all of our staff at the Bovard College, everyone you've been seeing. Thank you. This year's Bovard College's graduating class is comprised of over 450 graduates, and you studied online from 28 states and 3 countries. You are ready to be a positive force for change in your respective fields. This year's graduating class includes Bovard College's first library and information science graduates. There are 9 of you, and I would like to recognize as well Dr. Ruth Wallach, who's the director of the Library Science Program, and she did an amazing job of helping us develop that program. 18 of you are graduating with a Master of Science in Hospitality and Tourism. 42 of you are graduating with a Master of Science in Emergency Management. And we need you more than ever. There's a cadence to this, as you're seeing. 65 of you are graduating with a Master of Science in Criminal Justice. 140 of you are graduating with a Master of Science in Project Management. And 191 of you are graduating with a Master of Science in Human Resource Management. You're all ready to lead, and to give you some inspiration, I am now honored to introduce our commencement speaker. We are very fortunate to have with us Mike Fenlon, who is an executive leader who leads transformations that focus on disruption, future of work strategies, leadership development, and technology-enabled people functions. He is recognized for creating modernized organizations and culture for the digital and inclusive economy of the 21st century. He has served in U.S. and global leadership positions, including recently serving as the Chief Future of Work Officer at PwC, one of the largest professional services firms in the world. At PwC, Mike also served as Chief People Officer with CHRO responsibility for PwC US and Mexico, as well as employee centers in India, China, Argentina, the Philippines, and Indonesia. Mike just this year joined Harvard University, where he serves as Executive Director of Advances in Learning. His perspectives and thought leadership have been featured in the Harvard Business Review, Financial Times, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Fortune, and Fox Business News, among other outlets. Finally, I will note that Dr. Fenlon has a PhD and 3 master's degrees from Columbia University, so he knows what it's like to study for a master's degree. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Michael Fenlon. Get this out of your way.
Thank you. Thank you. What a spectacular day. Dean Bailey, thank you for those kind words. Distinguished faculty and administrators, staff, friends and family, and graduates, congratulations. I want to do a quick, this is kind of a graduation test here. Have you absorbed the Trojan USC spirit? So a little quick test. So when I raise this hand and do this, what do you say? That was good. That was good. All right. I think everyone has satisfied the requirements. So I am thrilled. I'm honored to be here today. Not as a representative of the institutions and firms that I'm a part of, but really as a fellow lifelong learner like all of you. And in April, I actually had the fantastic opportunity to meet with a group of you from across all of your programs. I was deeply, deeply moved by the leadership lessons that you shared from your Bovard experience. Now, if we're honest, many graduation speeches tend to blur. And by the way, I promise not to go longer than 2 hours. I've made that commitment here. So just hang in with me. Now, since they often blur, and we know from psychology that visuals tend to stick, we're a visual species, I have 3 images that connect with the leadership lessons that many of you shared with me, and I'm going to discuss today. So 3 images: bowling, chimpanzees, and Mount Everest. Stay with me. Stay with me. So you could string that together: bowling with chimpanzees on Mount Everest. Does that work? That actually captures 3 basic critical leadership lessons that many of you shared with me that we talked about in April. First of all, Mount Everest. Mount Everest. That stands for setting for yourself very specific, challenging, meaningful goals in life and in your career. You've done that. Second, leading with a beginner's mindset, a beginner's mindset. Some of you described that to me. That relates to a story I'll share about chimpanzees. And third, and last, bowling. And it turns out that the sport of bowling gives us clues about the power and importance of human connection and never going it alone. Never going it alone. So let's start with Everest. Quick poll. Please raise your hand if you have climbed Mount Everest. Anyone here? Might have someone. Full disclosure, neither have I. Neither have I. But in April, some of you told me that graduating from Bovard was like scaling Mount Everest. Those were your words. You set the goal of earning your degree, and where are you today? Today you're at the summit. You've achieved that goal. But let me ask you something. Why did you choose to scale Mount Bovard? Mount Bovard. Earning this degree arguably added stress to your life. Is that fair? Yeah, exactly. It added stress. You had to juggle competing priorities: family, caregiving, demanding jobs, careers, financial sacrifice. Maybe at times, I'm saying this between us, not in front of the faculty, really, maybe at times you didn't even feel like showing up for class. Maybe there were days that just felt nonstop. Fair? But you did show up. You showed up. Why? Why have you done this? Some of you told me you had reached a point in your career where you felt like you weren't getting ahead. You were not realizing your potential. Potential. That's a very, very powerful word. Maybe some of you know people in your lives who you feel haven't achieved their potential. Some of you said to me, you know, I'm getting older, maybe I should just settle. Maybe I should just settle. Now, all of you answered that question when you enrolled, didn't you? You answered it. Absolutely not. No settling. Some of you felt like you wouldn't belong at a place like USC, one of the great universities in the world. At Bovard College, a leader in educating leaders. A student told me he was thrilled at the prospect of his daughter one day applying to USC, and when asked if anyone in her family was an alum, proudly saying, yes, my father, my dad, Bovard 2025. Coming to Bovard meant you chose to invest in yourself. You set goals that you stretched to achieve. Now, you might be familiar with this research, especially our colleagues in our HR program. Research on goal setting shows that people who set more difficult and specific goals, Everest-type goals, tend to achieve higher performance levels compared to those of us who set easier or less defined goals, maybe those New Year's Eve kind of thing. So the fact is you came with different motives to Mount Bovard, but what else happened as you climbed to the summit? I've actually used Mount Everest as a case study with MBA students because we all know that success in life, in your careers, is more than just setting a goal, even if it is a bold, challenging goal. It means we've got to confront our fears. Maybe I won't succeed. It means that I've got to be willing to pivot when conditions change. I have to adapt and pivot. It means I've got to be accountable to myself and others. It's a public goal. And it also means I've got to learn to accept help from others, to cover my own blind spots, to learn from others. That's certainly been true for me with every role I've ever had. So the stakes have been real for you too as you climbed Mount Bovard. You told me about this, you faced challenges you never anticipated. New responsibilities at work, a seriously ill child. One of your colleagues told me about a parent who had developed cancer while you're in the program. The fact is you adapted, you pivoted, you found a way forward. Maybe it took a bit longer than you planned, but you found a way forward. You have proven you can achieve tough goals. Your USC Bovard degree is a degree in the curriculum of life and leadership in the real world. So, family and friends now, I'm going to ask all of our family and friends to recognize these graduates for making it to the summit. So if you can stand, please join me, stand up, and let's give these graduates a round of applause. So of course that takes us to another question, an important one. What's your next Everest? What's your next goal? What's it going to be? For example, we are graduating, of course, in the age of AI. To secure your future, one suggestion, consider setting an Everest goal, regardless of your program, your profession, your career, of using AI to augment yourself more than just a search engine. Aim to become a go-to person in your profession on the ethical and responsible use of AI. You don't need a computer science degree to do that. None of us do. Embrace it as an Everest-like challenge. Understand how it'll transform your profession. Become a go-to person. That's just one suggestion. But the point is now, what is your next Everest goal? Answer that for yourself. Keep setting those goals. The second leadership lesson that some of you shared with me is adopting what I'm referring to as a beginner's mindset. Beginner's mindset, and this is where the chimpanzees come in. So another quick show of hands. How many of you have heard of someone called David Greybeard? Has anyone heard of David Greybeard? Okay, fair enough. Now, David Greybeard was actually a chimpanzee with a gray beard. That's his name. In 1960, a young woman called Jane Goodall, you know that name? A young woman called Jane Goodall ventured into a chimpanzee reserve in what is now Tanzania. She was actually the first person to do this, to immerse herself in their natural habitat and study them for an extended period of time. She did not have a degree in science. She didn't have any degree. She couldn't afford to go to college. But she did have a lifelong Everest goal of getting to Africa to study wildlife. While there, when she finally got to Kenya, she had an opportunity to meet Dr. Louis Leakey, famous scientist. His assistant had recently quit. He took a chance on her, hired her as a secretary, and then as a research assistant. Leakey recognized that Jane Goodall possessed something that experts often lack: an open mind, a receptive mind, a curious mind. This is what we call the beginner's mind. This is what Shunryu Suzuki in his book Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind described. In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few. Demonstrating extraordinary patience, she built a trusting relationship with a chimp that she named David Graybeard. And over time, she observed him actually using tools, twigs, to eat termites. Okay, now that may not sound okay. What's the big deal about that? It turns out that her findings challenged the prevailing beliefs at the time among the scientific establishment that only all of us, we human beings, were smart enough to use tools. Dr. Leakey later sponsored her admission to Cambridge University, another Everest goal she set for herself. Now, when she went to Cambridge, she tells us that at that time she was not taken seriously. She didn't fit the prototype, the mental image of someone whose opinion even mattered. There were very few women in that field at the time. She didn't even have a degree, a bachelor's degree. She said, quote, "The professors at Cambridge told me I had done everything wrong, that chimpanzees should not have names, they should have numbers, and that I couldn't talk about their personality, mind, or emotion because those were unique to all of us, human beings, Homo sapiens." Now, how many of you happen to live with dogs? Raise your hand. Let's see. All right. Excellent. Our family volunteers with the Guiding Eyes for the Blind. It's an extraordinary organization. We raise 2 labs, Ralphie, and Juniper. We love them very much, have their puppies. Now, if you've ever lived with dogs, and many of you have, what do you know? Do you need a scientist to tell you that animals have a mind, emotions, a personality? Do you need that? No. We know that. Jane Goodall later would say the same thing. Now, by the way, we're inclusive here at USC. Are there cat owners? We only say respect to you. So, listen, by approaching her Everest goal with an open mind, with a receptive mind, a curious mind, not burdened with all sorts of assumptions, that's the beginner's mind, she observed what others did not think was even possible. She changed our understanding of chimpanzees and ourselves. She kept on setting Everest goals, just like I'm asking you to do. Today, in her 90s, she travels the world. In the next 30, 60 days, she'll be in Tokyo and Italy giving talks. She is a model of strong, powerful leadership to improve the lives of people, animals, and the environment, knowing that all life is connected. So today in our society, we have many, many competing models of leadership. What does it mean to really lead with a beginner's mind? I'd say that if we're honest, we all know it's not enough to just make a passive commitment to having an open mind. Most of us would say, of course, I have an open mind, of course. But strong leaders have self-awareness. Strong leaders know they have blind spots, not because they're weak, not because they're a bad person, but because they're a person, because they're a human being. We all have blind spots, all of us. So with a beginner's mind, we translate that awareness into curiosity, into learning how to get good at asking questions, learning how to be a good listener, an active listener, learning how to deliberately seek out opinions that are different from my own. That's not easy to do. That's easy for me to say. But we all know that's not easy. And then really working hard to understand those opinions, those views, those worldviews. And being open to even changing my mind. So, armed with your Bovard master's degree in expertise, you're graduating into a rapidly changing world. AI and the transformation of work, as I've mentioned, climate change, shrinking biodiversity, increasing polarization in our society, growing mistrust, geopolitical conflict. The beginner's mindset will make you a stronger and more powerful leader. It will make you gain access to more insight and have deeper relationships. It's interesting, early in my career, I trained in psychology. Early in my career, I did training as a clinical training as a psychotherapist. So, of course, I thought I had a degree, I was getting another degree. I thought I was the expert. I knew what I was doing. And I was ready to solve others' problems. Part of the training involved being videotaped with clients. And suddenly with the videotape, right in front of me, I couldn't deny it, I saw how I was jumping to conclusions, interrupting, not listening. I thought I knew how to fix this person's problem. Why don't they listen to me? I've got the answer. I had to learn over time to adopt a beginner's mindset, to actively listen, to practice being curious, practice that, getting good at asking questions, not jumping to conclusions. Those are skills that would certainly prove invaluable to me later on in my career and in every leadership role I've had. So finally, I've talked about Everest goals, setting Everest goals, the importance of continuing to set them, of leading with a beginner's mind, like Dr. Jane Goodall with David Graybeard, the chimpanzees. The last image I'm going to leave you with is bowling. And this third leadership lesson that some of you shared with me, the power and importance of human connection, and not going it alone. And I have some good news to share with you in just a moment about this. So another poll, how many here have gone bowling? That's pretty good. That's impressive, all right. How many of you bowl every week? All right. How many of you bowl in a league, in a team? I don't see a single hand. All right. We're going to come back to that. As I said, bowling turns out to provide us with some very powerful insights about human connection, especially across differences. This was one of the things that some of you told me was the best part, one of the most important parts of your Bovard experience. Now, do you know what research shows is one of the most powerful predictors of happiness and flourishing? And there seems to be a new book out every month on happiness, how to be happy. We all should move to Finland, right? What's the answer? What's the answer? 2 words. Human connection. Investing in relationships, human connection. Even a brief positive interaction is interesting. Even a brief positive interaction with a complete stranger can produce measurable outcomes in how we feel, in our well-being. Earlier this year, I was at Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital Center. That's a major hospital in New York City, and I was visiting a sick friend. When I stepped onto the elevator, I noticed a staff member, someone who worked at the hospital, wearing a fleece with the logo of a Vermont ski lodge that I love. Now, I imagine many of you have spent time in New York City. Typically in New York, on elevators, on the subway, you don't make eye contact. You don't engage in conversation, right? You kind of stick to yourself. Unlike my wife, I am an introvert. I ride on the quiet car on trains. On that day, I asked him about that ski lodge. It really struck me. He smiled, his face lit up. We quickly shared what we both loved about the state of Vermont and felt a brightening of that day. So this brings us back to bowling. I was doing some work on my family history. I came across a summary of my great-grandfather's life in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. Anyone been to Oshkosh, Wisconsin? All right, very good, thank you. It turns out this summer he went through his life and he was dedicated to his Catholic parish. He did all sorts of volunteer service in the town of Oshkosh, listed many clubs he belonged to, a lifelong passionate fan of the Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers. It concluded, though, with a simple statement that he loved bowling and that he was part of the same league, the same team, for 30 years. And they played every week. They would get together every week. Now, everyone here, it looked like you've bowled. So you know that in bowling, actually, most of your time is spent sitting, eating, talking. So you're sitting in maybe a semicircle with your team and your opponents face to face, right next to each other. I suspect that it was that semicircle that he loved the most about bowling. The friendships, the laughter, connecting with people from across his community that he might not otherwise see. I am fairly certain they argued about politics. I imagine it probably got tense at times, but I think they learned to keep it in check. They tried to find some common ground, knowing they would see each other very likely the next day in the neighborhood, maybe at the store, maybe at work. It's kind of hard for me to imagine now, every single week for 30 years, doing that face-to-face, talking face-to-face, no screen time, no sitting in the corner, passive scrolling, right? Now, fast forward to the year 2000. Our American society was at a moment of peak confidence. We had a strong economy. The Berlin Wall had fallen. The Soviet Union had dissolved. It was the dawn of the internet. Some of us here are old enough to remember that vividly, the dawn of the internet. Yet in that year, a scholar and former dean of the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University, where I am now, his name is Robert Putnam, issued a warning. He issued a warning to us. We were bowling alone. That was the title of what became a best-selling book. He was not warning us about or concerned about the future of the sport of bowling. That wasn't it. He saw that our society was in deep trouble. He saw that despite all the advances in technology, we were actually withdrawing from community life. We were withdrawing from houses of worship, from volunteering, from attending, showing up at town meetings. We were spending less time with friends. Putnam was right. In 2023, our U.S. Surgeon General at the time warned of an epidemic of loneliness, that a lack of social connection can be associated with significant premature death. Loneliness, actual loneliness, can lead to premature death, heart disease, stroke, other health problems. Many of us here are aware that depression and anxiety have increased over the last decade. I'm sure we have friends, family members who have wrestled with depression and anxiety, especially young people. A recent World Happiness Report found that today we're even eating alone, I imagine, on screens. And it turns out that sharing a meal with someone is a very powerful predictor of happiness, of fulfillment in life. So I envy the deep connections that my grandparents had, but I don't have any interest in going backwards. This isn't about kind of nostalgia. I think all of us would agree that technology has profound benefits that we would not give up. It's what has made this remarkable achievement, this remarkable community possible. It's technology. That said, I don't see AI companions, AI lovers, AI friends providing the glue of trust that brings us together. We're aware, for example, of how screen time has contributed to some of those mental health problems. The reality is we need human connections to promote trust, to create a shared sense of generosity, a sense that we're invested in helping each other. We identify with each other. Putnam called this social capital, and it serves as a glue that holds our society together. Now, this brings me to some very good news. When I asked you if you belong to a bowling team or a bowling league, I don't think a single hand went up. You actually do. It's called the Bovard College Bowling League. What do I mean by that? This isn't about bowling. This is about being invested in a community, building relationships. This is a community that should be with you for the rest of your life. And when you think about your Everest goals that you want to continue to set, my challenge to you today, one challenge, is to find ways to invest and sustain these relationships. Find ways to come together, virtually, in person. Continue to share learning. Talked about AI earlier. Your careers. Share opportunities. This network is an extraordinarily powerful and important asset for you. But it's more than that. It's a deep, deep opportunity for human connection, for happiness, for fulfillment. And I am confident and I'm optimistic because you have proven you're tech-enabled leaders. You can achieve Everest-like goals. You've proven that. You know how to value different perspectives, like Dr. Jane Goodall with the beginner's mindset. And you know how to build human connections. You've done it virtually as well. I've seen that with the students I've met with. So, as you think about leaving today, who here is going to do this? Who's going to step up? Who is going to lead this? Who's going to pull people together? It's not going to happen by itself. So it's another leadership opportunity. And I truly hope you grab this opportunity and find ways to stay connected and to sustain. So let's all be leaders who bowl with chimps on Mount Everest. I hope those images stay with you. Our world and our society needs your leadership. And now, since you didn't make it to this summit, this Mount Bovard summit, by yourselves, let's conclude by focusing on the people who helped get you here. I'm going to ask you to think about this. Is there someone here that maybe you're meeting in person for the first time? I imagine that's true. Everyone. In person. So, is there someone here who's made a difference in your journey? Maybe who helped you. Maybe you just enjoyed sharing the experience together. What do you want to say to them? Make yourself vulnerable. Reach out. Don't let this day pass. Form that connection. Grab the opportunity. You might also be thinking of someone who perhaps couldn't be here with you today, but they're here in spirit, in your heart. Maybe, think of a time when someone saw potential in you, maybe that you didn't see in yourself. Someone believed in you, challenged you. Reconnect with that sense of appreciation and love right now and what they did for you. And so, graduates, I'm going to ask you now to stand, if you can, and face those who are here with us. Let's face them and thank them and give them a great Trojan round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you for those inspiring words, Dr. Fenlon. Please, a round of applause for Dr. Michael Fenlon. I can't wait until someone asks me, what was the topic of your commencement speaker? Because I can summarize as bowling, chimpanzees. You know, Dr. Folt spoke last night a little bit about her experience with orangutans. So I think there might be a theme to this commencement overall. Well, now that we've been inspired, let's move on to the fun part of this ceremony where you get to walk across the stage and receive your diploma. And since this is the Bovard College Bowling League, and you were really part of a massive bowling league, which is called the Trojan Family, and you're going to be a part of an alumni community over 500,000 strong. To congratulate our first graduate that's going to walk the stage, I'd like to invite my colleague and fellow dean of the Marshall School of Business, Jeff Garrett, to join me as his, yes, let's give him a round of applause. As his executive assistant, will be graduating with a project management degree from USC. Hugo. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to present the USC Bovard College's candidates for the degree of Master of Science and the degree of Master of Management. Music, please. There we go.
Hugo Vicente Alvarado.
Emma Cecile Ongaro. Cameron Sherman. Armando Perez Jr. Matthew Robertson.
Garen Guo.
David Michael Nolan.
Garrett Elliott.
Joanna Mendez. Naomi Post.
Gregory Caleb Jansky.
Alan Yang.
Li Li Hu.
Christine Nguyen. Collins and Kem Chor.
Devin Favela. Kevin Jason Henry.
Mitzi Elizabeth White. Gina Reese. Carla Martinez Quijano.
Jonathan Francisco.
Joshua Adamar Marquez. Catherine Lee Wong. Cody Powell Phillips.
Alex Araujo.
Elena Torosian. Kelly Nguyen. Julia Mack.
Nisha Bhatia. Arunima Gupta.
Lauren Walton. Avery Julia Roberts. Sydney Nicole Talbert.
Siani Champion Carter. Serena High. Caitlin Cien Chow.
Sathwa Lorana. Ada Serrano. Krista Renee Woodhull.
Joshua Hayes Kennedy. Evelyn Reed Hooper.
Arcelia Navarro. Jennifer Sosenko.
Brandon Bart. Ruby Ling. Bobby Jarman. Cynthia Patricia Hinojosa. Natalie Clausen. Neptali Clavijo. Cesar Alexander Garcia. Hannah Alicea.
Pablo Martin. Victoria Young.
Christine Gonzalez.
Alexandria Walls. Madison Salazar.
Norma Gonzalez Romero.
Madeline Claire Mason.
Elizabeth Fortini.
Kayla Howe. Jessica Ruiz. Sharon Manassian. Lawanda Yvonne Smith Blackwood. Aisha Rampul Eshu.
Alex Henry. Sarah Bak Chim.
Gracian Moreno.
Maina Masako Tsioni. Kevin Arouse.
Itatia Villa Villanueva.
David Rex Goldeisen. Joseph Sebastian Garnett.
Crystal Melanie Peralta. Leon Timothy Shaw. Shayla Mayers.
Sarah Lindsay Louise Lorenzana.
Frank Javier Ramirez Jr. Tony Quiroz. Kedar Chitankumar Vias.
Narasimha Erenki.
Arlene Vasquez. Chawang Stao. Sophie Zhou.
William C. Du Bois. Sayeda Wajiha Ahmad. Crystal Marie Clayton. Regina Kirschenbaum.
Georgina Arianes Pastrana.
Erica Baker. Daniel Wesley Garduno. Neitz Louis. Savita Chahal. Deepal Jayasuriya.
Charles Medina III. Paula Barrera.
Julissa Contreras. Kevin Stanley Brown Jr. Vanessa Avalos.
Yamile Genoveva Rovira.
Melanie Josette Fontalera. Anaya Charmaine Lewis. Alfredo Arevalo. Cynthia Garcia. Melissa Chapman.
Jessica Helena Devis. Lena Rose Torres Rosario.
Seth Cameron. CG Lee Davis. Melissa Cortez.
Ivan S. Nunez Arden.
Alexander Brian Allen, Jr.
Alan Stewart. Neil Scott Euler.
Thomas Blank.
Michael Stewart.
Alshwen Bear Lucas Campos.
Anastasia Mainich.
Kristen Joe.
Simona von Kugelgan. Duck Hugh Pham.
Gabriela Esther Avila.
Ismael J. Santana.
Cecilia Andrea Delgadillo Kane. Lavelle Johnson. Brian Stephen Herrera.
Alexandra Martinez. Hatcher Parnell.
Shantae Franklin.
Eder Vergara.
Karime Yamile Lozano. Beatrice Marie Lodia.
Mayerly Zarai Ramirez Salmaron.
Marina Assad. Juliana Alexandra Alvarez.
Alexander Palacio.
David Gonzalez. Zachary Goodman. Jamie Broadway. Melody Phillips Balistrieri.
William David Miles.
Rod Marshall Dietrich.
Robert Diaz Rojas. David Paul Sabato. Era Joyce Fernandez Trinidad.
Paulina Magali Gonzalez. Nicole Anne Marie Kuulelani Collins. Jose Alonso. George Esco. Ethel Campaign.
Clinton Pugh Jr.
Alyssa Holman.
Susan Sayamyan.
Joseph Lopez.
Danis Renderos.
Gerson Abel Lima. Michael George Chen. McCade Connor Johan. Cameron Dickerson. Brandon Jadrisic.
Elizabeth Salinas. David Joseph Trigg Jr. Ronald Lee Oliver. Carlos Velasco. Jared Rosenzweig.
Melanie Batres. Taylor Lene Brown.
Alejandra Munoz.
Avery Davis.
Jojo Lomibao Tandok.
Lisa Liu.
Michelle Marina Martinez Arevalo.
Caitlin Marie Ariola. Jesse Leon Alvarez. Jennifer Aguilar. Cooper Davies. Matt Breidenbach.
Kayo Tokumaru.
Fuad Jubi. Sydney Freeman. Mina Gobriel.
Nick Ruben Martinez Jr.
Caitlin Ide. Talene Alkas.
Corey Scott. David George Marigold.
Aaron Andre George. Jessica Baldonado.
Nuria Meda Safar.
Leona Lawrence Paunga. Anthony Philip Dagalea.
Lorenzo Lowe Stevenson.
Mina Nabil Hanna.
Zoila Rojas. Kilsey Villalobos.
Britta Candola. Alexis Irolanis.
Ulisa S. Ricks.
Susanna Landa.
Cynthia Eileen Rodriguez.
Ana Sofia Wamanchumo Bazan.
Jennifer Vera.
Jose Alvarez.
Salvador Rodriguez. Brandon Ortiz. Jennifer Kim Vey.
Cindy Armandaris.
Regan McCall.
Jaleesa Davis. Myra Carrillo.
Eric Wagner. Kayla Street. Bianca Para. Peggy Young. Megan Michelle Ostiller.
Rachel Dobrin. Kyle Beard.
Jimmy Rodriguez. Justin Thompson. Natalie Ann Pongo.
Carlos Francisco Lara.
Mary Rose Gazwan Shaheen. Jessica Nam.
Diana Victoria Jimenez.
Tiffany Elizabeth Toberer. Ivan Verdon.
Alexis Calleros.
Madeline Love Smith.
Stephanie Gamboa. Brianna Figueroa.
Ani McCurchin. Samantha Coletta Merritt.
Davis Del Pino. Kenyetta Andrea Adams. Natalie Kim.
Morgan Marshall. Adriana Nicole Pearson.
Matilda Gonzalez.
Yvette Puyalt.
Caroline Famous. Kelsey Fraser. Valerie Johnson.
Chibuka Oko.
Amberlyn Awelua Matafeo. Ashley Garcia. Brenda Alvarez. Linda Elizabeth Corey. Yvonne Gomez Vega. Matthew Man Leong Ko.
Elizabeth Neva.
Brooke Bowie.
Taylor Jordan Skillern. Taylor Rosby.
Jessica Cha. Karen Laney Calvillo.
Gritia Salgado Ramirez.
Nicolette Vergara Hull.
Emma Valente Carpio. Fatima Rodriguez Ortiz. Jasmine Mergil.
Stephen Andrew Hyen.
Cesar Martin Melendez. Alexa Nicole Núñez del Prado.
Isabel Mary Gaynor Breeding. Marina Inez Lopez.
Larie Monica Trepanier. Jenny Marie Wall.
Stephanie Almonte.
Jorne Milton. Kalyani Parmar.
Savani Alana N.
Veronica Lum Ong Tan. Cassandra Scheider.
Monica Lumberana.
Carla Leslie Price.
Alexandra Nicole Cooper.
Wardell Marine. Ashley Matchett.
Jill Shu. Walter Gonzalez. Kyla Cormier. Lisa Jordan.
Stephen Montez. Bethany Paquette.
Charles Herrera Quindero.
Matthew Isaiah Moore.
Justin Johnson. Nader Judy. Becky Lopez.
Nicholas Joseph Slakanen.
Irv Kintowdy.
Ahmad Mohamed Zia.
Elizabeth Freese.
Shanice Watkins.
Marisa Guzman.
Karen Marroquin. Juliana Serrano. Cindy Padilla Varela.
Kelsey Marie Keeling.
Hernan Martinez. Paul Rodriguez. Ying Zhang.
Sabah Layli.
Scarlett Wang.
Judy Ali Al-Sahli.
Samantha Ryan Quintanilla. Luis Rene Nunez Perez. Michelle Marie Velasco.
Danielle Eng. Camille Capers.
Leah Regina Turner.
Eric Hinton.
Catherine Mejia.
Priscilla Echeverria.
Karina Nicole Varela.
Zigo.
Evelyn Moreno.
Cheryl Hawk. Valerie Elaine Abrego. Liliana Alondra Witzel. Justin Giu.
Amid Solano. Kristen Vergara.
Jessica Vyatt.
Sandra Barba. Nathan Joel Barreras.
Zakia Osiwamu Ramirez.
Anmol Prait Kaur Kang. Vasha Dao.
Pablo Raya.
Julissa Julio.
Samantha Reyes.
Carolyn Harwood.
Eugenia Sofia Marini.
Monica Estela Huerta.
Stacy Marie Sanchez.
Tiffany Liu. Johari Halima Leeks.
Isaiah Arman Nassab. Annie Shao.
Natalia Contreras.
Beatrice Velasquez.
Alondra Alvarez.
Magdi Mashriki.
Mark R. Kellogg.
Samuel Pakbahan. La Princess Williette Porter.
Cynthia Cardenas. Charlie Eddie Diaz.
So graduates, and those of you who were at the commencement last night, Dr. Folt did this, but we're going to do it again for you, and we're going to do it for most of you who weren't there last night, which is you may turn your tassels to the left as you join our alumni community. I know a few of you have classes this summer, so take it home strong, please. Congratulations, class of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, the fun is not over. We invite you to join us for a reception immediately following the ceremony, and here's what's going to happen next. Our families and friends, if you could please remain seated while the platform party and our graduates exit. And then you're going to, after we exit, follow along to the reception site where you're just going to go straight out the back of our area, make a right, and make your first left down Bloom Walk, and the reception will be all the way down in the end. There will be some folks along the way who can help guide you as well, and I think there's going to be a map up here. So I will leave you at this point with congratulations, class of 2025, and fight on!
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated until the platform party and graduates have exited.